We're going to start a new series. I know it's been a while since you've heard from me, and I apologize for that, but I really wanted to be able to bring something to you that would be life-changing. I really believe that people are looking for something that will really impact and change their life. And thus, I came up with this series, Abundant by Nature. And through this series, for the next few months, what I'm going to be doing is going behind the curtains of the sayings of Jesus. Now, often when we listen and read the sayings of Jesus, the problem is that we see them as religious sayings, but what Jesus was doing was giving life principles. Jesus was taking us behind the curtain, and it's not until the last 100, 200 years that we really begin to understand that many of the things that Jesus said really line up with science. For example, Jesus said that you are the light of the world. Let your light shine. Scientists have discovered that we are, in fact, light. When we are looked at as the human body, we are our energy system, and we emulate light. So all of the things that Jesus said have really practical applications for today, and I want to be able to take you behind the curtain of the wizard, as it were, and to give you the principles that would radically transform your life forever. If you look at my introduction in leading to this course, you'll see that I've used the script from the Matrix, and this is basically where Morpheus sits down with Neo, and Neo has no idea what the Matrix is. He has a concept that there's something beyond himself, but it's only a concept. And Morpheus sits down with him, and I'm not going to read the entire script or even rehash it because you can go to the introduction and read it for yourself. But basically what happens is Morpheus sits down with Neo, and he gives him a choice between a red pill and a blue pill. The red pill, he says, if once you take this, you will journey down the rabbit hole, and your life will never be the same. But if you take the blue pill, then your life will remain as it is. Nothing will change. You'll wake up the next morning, and your life will just go on. This is where we're at. I'm offering you the red pill or the blue pill. If you choose not to listen to these programs, if you choose to turn them off, it's much like taking the blue pill. Your life will go on as it has been. You will notice nothing different, and you will just continue that circumstances outside of you control your life. But if, in fact, you choose to take the red pill, this is when you begin to listen to these lessons, begin to apply them to your life. You will begin to see a transformation in your life that you didn't think was imaginable. The other thing is that you're going to see that it's not the outside world that determines who you are or what you will become, but your thinking. All the principles that Jesus gave us was really speaking about thinking. When he speaks about the prince of this world and domination of this world, he's speaking about the thinking, the concepts that the people of the physical realm operate under. And when he speaks about the kingdom of heaven, and we'll talk more about that today, he's speaking about God-like thinking, Christ thinking, the Christ mind, as you were. Now, many of us would just equate this to religion. Anybody that takes hold of these principles, whether sinner or saint, and I'm just using the words loosely here, anyone, the layperson or the person that's an agnostic or an atheist, when you begin to apply spiritual principles, no matter who you are, the principles work as much like they cannot. It says that God is no respecter of person. These principles are no respecter of person. So it's like the law of gravity. It's not because a person is a let's say a Christian or a Muslim or a Hinduist or a Buddhist, he jumps off of a building, he reaps the same results of gravity as a person that doesn't believe in anything. Likewise with these spiritual principles. It doesn't matter your religious denomination, what your faith is. I'm not coming to you from a religious point of view. I'm coming to you from a spiritual point of view, of course, because what we're speaking about are spiritual principles. Now, today, quantum mechanics have taken many things that we've called spiritual, and they've actually applied them to science. So we're calling these spiritual principles today quantum mechanics. So scientists and religion are finally coming to a place of agreement. Now, they don't always call the terms the same things. We may say the law of faith, where someone else may say the law of attraction, or reaping and sowing. So we're going to get into the nuts and bolts of who you are, because who you are is not who you think you are. You're so much more. You are a spiritual mind body, but far too often we operate as a body, mind, spirit, and we think that the spirit is just encased in our body, but the spirit is truly who you are. And when you begin to operate from a spiritual mindset, you will radically take control of your life, and you will begin to see things in such a way that will turn your world upside down. And I'll try to be mindful, because some of these spiritual principles are very deep. And so I try not to hit you with too much all at once. But I will try to make it so simple, and I'm not questioning anyone's intelligence, but I will try to make it so simple that even a child can understand it. But let's move forward. This week, we're talking about the kingdom within you. And I want to preface this by saying, don't believe a word I say. Because, see, I don't know if these principles are true. Now, some of you would want to stop right here. What I do know is that these principles are true for me and others who have tried them. They will not be true to you until you apply them to your life. Otherwise, if you just take my information, it becomes nothing more than head knowledge. So I challenge you, listener, to take the principles that you're learning through abundance by nature and begin to apply them to your life, and taste and see that what I'm saying is true to taste and that it works. Check it for yourself. We're going to be first speaking from a place where Jesus was inquired about. Somebody inquired with him about the kingdom of God, since we're talking about the kingdom within. So let me give you a basic understanding of what the kingdom within is. Once Jesus was asked by the Pharisees and the religious community, what is the kingdom of God and when will it come? Jesus said it this way, that the kingdom of God, the kingdom of heaven, does not come with observation. It does not come with you looking, and he said that at another place, many would say that the king would come, the Messiah would come, and lo, he's here, lo, he's over there. Look not for him in the physical appearance as coming by observation. But he says about the kingdom of heaven, he says, many people will say, here it is, there it is. But he says this way, that the kingdom of God is among you, or within you. So, first and foremost, you must begin to look within for the things that you desire. And we'll talk more about the manifestation of your desire in later chapters and later broadcasts. But Jesus said you have to begin within. God within you. Now you say, well, DeCarlo, how do I begin to look within? You have to begin to understand that you and God are one. And I start at that place. Because, see, once you understand your oneness with God, then you begin to understand your oneness with all things. You and I are one. There is no separation. It says that in God, in that Christ spirit that spirit that holds all things together, that we live, we move, and we have our being. And it's much like having a dream. When we dream, the world of our mind encompasses everything that's within our mind, and everything that's a part of that dream is a part of our thinking, a part of who we are. The characters, the things that we see, it's a part of our thinking, and it's encompassing everything within that dream, and it's holding that dream together. And then we awake, and the dream is no more. We are much like that in the body of God. We are like cells in the body of God, black and white, yellow and red blood cells, human cells, spirit, mind, body cells that make up the body of God. And then we look at the stars, the planets, the trees. This also makes up that universal body of God. In God, we live, we move, we have our being. So even as you look without and you see God, you have to begin to look within and realize that He's within you. We used to be so connected with God that we thought His thoughts and we were a part of Him. But we begin to separate ourselves, seeing ourselves as individuals. And we forgot that we were a part of the whole. So many of us, the reason why we find ourselves separated from the entity we know as God is primarily through our thinking. It's not that we are separate. We can't survive, move, live, or have our being apart from God. But because in our minds we believe that we are separated from God, we live and we act as such. Christ said it this way, that I and the Father are one. And when you become a part of me and I become a part of you, you become a part of the Father. He said it in another place that we could not harm our brothers without bringing harm upon ourselves. What he understood was that if I failed to forgive someone, then he said that the heavenly body, God, would not forgive me. Now, it's not that God is saying, well, because you choose not to forgive, I'm not going to forgive. It's the law of cause and effect, sowing and reaping. If I'm sending out unforgiveness is what's going to return to me in some form or some fashion. But if I'm sending out love, then love is what's going to return to me. We create by our mere makeup. We're creators. We discover in the first book of the Bible that God said, let us make man and woman after our image and after our likeness, and let them have dominion over this thing I call earth. But the first thing that we learn about God is God said, and it was so. So if we've been created in the image of God, then it must hold true that if we say, then it is so. If we think, then it is so. If we feel, then it is so. It is so to us. So as we sow, so shall we reap. I'm kind of playing on words at this point. But what I'm trying to say is that as a man or woman thinks in her heart, so is she. Whether it be true or a lie, if they believe that as to be their reality, then of course it becomes their manifestation. A friend of mine's recently texted me, and she and her husband have been friends of mine for years. I actually grew up with her husband, Randy. And Vicki sent me a text, and she said that she had a neighbor, and the neighbor was very sick, and she was in this coma, but it was induced by some type of medication, and they did not know if she was going to come out. And she solicited my prayers, but she also requested that I reach out to others to have them pray as well. Now,